You're born Gaius Julius Caesar on July 12th, 100 BCE, and the midwife barely has time to cut the cord before your family starts arguing about your future. Your father wants military glory. Your mother wants political power. Your Aunt Julia married Marius, Rome's most celebrated general, which means you're connected to greatness before you can even walk. Lucky you. Except Marius backs the Populares, the faction that fights for common people, and that makes you a target before you understand what a target is. Your childhood is spent dodging political assassinations disguised as accidents. At 6, you watch armed men storm your neighborhood hunting Marius supporters. Your mother hides you in a grain storage pit for 2 days. You learn early that in Rome, your name either protects you or kills you, and sometimes both. By 13, your father dies. No warning, no dramatic final words, just gone. You're now head of the family, which sounds impressive until you realize you're a teenager responsible for your mother and sister's survival in a city that eats weakness for breakfast. The Senate expects you to be quiet, obedient, forgettable. You choose the opposite path. At 16, you're appointed Flamen Dialis, High Priest of Jupiter. It's supposed to be an honor. Really, it's a cage. The position comes with insane rules. You can't touch metal, ride horses, or see dead bodies. For someone who dreams of military conquest, this is a nightmare wrapped in religious robes. But you smile, accept the role, and start planning your escape. Then Sulla seizes power. He's a dictator who makes enemies disappear, and guess what? You're on his list because of your Marius connection. Sulla orders you to divorce your wife Cornelia. His logic is simple. Break your political ties or die. Every advisor you have says comply. Your mother begs you to just sign the papers. You refuse. It's the stupidest, bravest thing you've ever done. Sulla strips you of your priesthood, your inheritance, everything. You flee Rome with nothing but the clothes on your back and a death sentence hanging over your head. You're 17, broke, and hunted by the most powerful man in the Mediterranean. Most people would call that the end of the story. You're hiding in the Italian countryside, sleeping in barns, stealing food, one step ahead of Sulla's assassins. Fever hits you hard. You're delirious, sweating through the nights, and just when you think this is how it ends, face down in the mud, Sulla's men find you. They drag you back to Rome in chains. You're certain you're dead, but something strange happens. Your family's connections, the ones you thought meant nothing, suddenly matter. Influential senators beg Sulla for mercy. They argue, bargain, grovel. Sulla finally agrees to spare you, but not before saying something you'll never forget. Fine, keep him. But mark my words, in that boy, I see many Mariuses. He means it as a warning. You hear it as a prophecy. The moment Sulla dies, you return to Rome. You're 22 with no money, no army, no political office. Just a dangerous name and an unshakable belief that you're destined for something greater. You start at the bottom, taking minor legal cases, defending nobodies against powerful elites. People expect you to lose. You don't. Your courtroom style is aggressive, theatrical, unforgettable. You don't just argue law, you perform it. Every case becomes a spectacle. You're building a reputation, but more importantly, you're building a following. Romans love a fighter, especially one who isn't afraid to humiliate the old guard. At 25, you decide to study rhetoric in Rhodes, not because you need the training, but because the journey matters. On the way, pirates capture your ship. 25 days you spend as their hostage while they demand 20 talents of silver for your release. You laugh in their faces and tell them you're worth at least 50. They think you're joking. You're not. You send your companions to raise the ransom, and while you wait, you treat your captors like annoying servants. You read them poetry, make them applaud, promise you'll crucify them all once you're free. They think it's hilarious. Rich kid playing tough. The ransom arrives. You're released. You immediately raise a fleet, hunt down every single pirate, and crucify them exactly as promised. Because when Caesar makes a promise, even to pirates, he keeps it. You return to Rome with a new reputation, the man who kept his word to pirates. People notice. At 29, you win election as military tribune. It's a minor position, but you use it to connect with soldiers, learn their names, share their meals, make them believe you're one of them. You're not just building an army, you're building loyalty that runs deeper than gold. Then you do something insane. You spend everything you have and everything you can borrow to throw games and festivals for the public. Gladiators, theater, feasts. Rome has never seen anything like it. You're drowning in debt, but the people love you. Your rivals call it reckless. You call it investment. Because in Rome, popularity is power, and you've just bought yourself a lot of both. At 31, you're elected quaestor and sent to Spain. It's supposed to be a quiet administrative post. Instead, you see a statue of Alexander the Great and break down weeping. Your colleagues think you've lost it. You're crying because Alexander conquered the known world by 33, and here you are, pushing papers in a provincial backwater. You return to Rome more driven than ever. You climb the ranks. Aedile, praetor. Each position brings more debt and more power. You bribe, you charm, you make promises you'll figure out how to keep later. The Senate hates you. The people adore you. You're playing a dangerous game, balancing on the edge of bankruptcy and glory. One wrong move and you're finished. But you don't make wrong moves. At 39, you're elected Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest. It's the same position you lost to Sulla decades ago. This time, nobody can take it from you. You've gone from hiding in barns to holding one of the most prestigious titles in Rome. Your enemies are starting to realize you're not going away. Then comes your big break. Governorship of Gaul. It's a frontier posting, technically an honor, but really it's Rome's way of saying, go deal with barbarians and leave us alone. You see something different. Opportunity wrapped in forest and fog. You're 42, buried in debt that could fill the Tiber, and you need a win. Gaul is full of tribes, gold, and glory. You plan to take all three. You arrive with 4 legions and a simple strategy. Conquer everything. The Gallic tribes don't expect the speed, the brutality, the sheer relentlessness. You fight battles in winter when armies are supposed to rest. You cross rivers everyone says are uncrossable. You build a bridge across the Rhine in 10 days just to prove you can, march into Germany, then march back and burn the bridge behind you. Not because you need to, because you want them to know what Rome can do. 8 years in Gaul, 8 years of constant war. You write detailed accounts of every campaign, sending them back to Rome where they're read aloud in the forum. You're not just conquering Gaul, you're making sure everyone knows you're conquering Gaul. Your name is on every Roman's lips. Your legions worship you. You know their names. Fight beside them, share the danger. When they build fortifications, you're there. When they march through freezing rain, you march with them. They'd follow you into the underworld if you asked, and soon you might have to ask. Because back in Rome, the Senate is terrified. You've built an army more loyal to you than to the Republic. You've amassed wealth that makes your old debts look like pocket change. You've become exactly what Sulla warned about. And now, they want you stopped. They order you to disband your legions and return to Rome alone. It's a trap. Come back without your army and face trial, exile, or worse. Stay in Gaul and become an enemy of the state. There's a river between Gaul and Italy, the Rubicon. Cross it with your army and there's no going back. It's treason, it's rebellion, it's war. You stand at the riverbank staring at the water, weighing your entire life against this single choice. Then you speak 4 words that will echo through history. The die is cast. You cross the Rubicon and Rome holds its breath. Pompey flees. The Senate scatters. Your enemies, the ones who spent decades trying to destroy you, suddenly realize they're not fighting a politician anymore. They're fighting a force of nature with battle-hardened legions who die for him. Civil war tears through the Republic like wildfire. You chase Pompey across the Mediterranean, defeat him in Greece, watch him get murdered in Egypt by people trying to win your favor. You don't thank them. You weep for your former ally, because even in victory you understand what's been lost. You return to Rome not as a general, but as a god. Dictator for life. The king they swore they'd never have. You reform the calendar, expand the Senate, plan massive public works. You're building an empire while pretending you're saving a republic. Some call it genius. Others call it tyranny. On March 15th, 44 BCE, you'll discover which voice was louder. But right now, standing at the height of power you spent your entire life climbing toward, you finally understand the truth. Rome doesn't belong to the people. It doesn't belong to the Senate. It belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it and bold enough to keep it. You were that person. The question is whether anyone after you will be. The senators gathering in the theater of Pompey are about to provide their answer. 23 stab wounds worth of answer, including in the wong.